Good afternoon. Welcome to today's Monday Monologues. I'm Susan Gent, and I work at both the Iowa State and Ames Public Libraries. I'm really glad that you're able to join us today. We do have chat in YouTube, and if when you have a moment, you would please type in chat how you heard about this event. We're just trying to figure out if some of the extra things we've done to promote Monday Monologues are reaching folks, and we'd love that feedback from you all. So today's Monday Monologues is really special. It is an event featuring part of the Iowa State University Theater's production, Facing Our Truth, 10-minute plays on Trayvon, race, and privilege, which opens Thursday evening. And today we have two Iowa State Theater students who have prepared monologues, which are part of the larger production next weekend. And so they're here today to share those monologues and then to talk with the guest artist in residence this year at Iowa State Theater, Tiffany Johnson, who is directing the play. So these students will be chatting with Tiffany about process and I guess we'll find out. That's part of the fun of the event. So I wanted to introduce Tiffany. Tiffany Johnson is an inspiring educator. I've had the opportunity to speak with her several times over the last week, and her passion and compassion for her students and this work is really evident. Tiffany's also a fierce community advocate and a passionate arts leader who's very respected throughout Central Iowa. As a founding member of Pyramid Theater Company, she works to give Black artists a platform to tell stories of experiences and struggles of being Black in the United States. And we're going to see exactly how she's doing that on Iowa State's campus shortly. So thank you for being with us, Tiffany. I'll let you introduce Monica and Travis since you have a relationship with them.
Thank you, Susan, for that wonderful introduction. And Travis and Monica, you guys can go ahead and come on whenever you're ready. Um, First of all, I am thrilled. Again, my name is Tiffany Johnson. I'm thrilled to be an artist in residence at ISU this year. It has been an absolutely thrilling experience to be added to the roster and made part of the performing arts family for the year. And I have really taken a liking to the students of the Performing Arts Department and care for them quite a bit. They are some hard workers, and hopefully, we are able to provide them the experience, the best experience that we can on their academic journey. I want to first start by talking about the piece Facing Our Truth. Um, I decided to do this piece first because for many reasons. First, because I thought it was valuable to have the conversation of race and privilege. The first semester, I spent a lot of time talking to the students about the history of Black theater and where it came from. And then this time, I wanted to spend some time talking about the actual issues that we deal with today and how it pertains to how they feel and how they relate to those things. This particular piece is a compilation of roughly 10-minute pieces that are made by all different BIPOC playwrights. So I thought it was fun to be able to explore work from other people of other cultures and see what those other perspectives kind of brought out in the students and what kind of conversations we could have and education we could find around it. The adding the monologues was an idea that I had because I figured that while we were telling the stories of individuals who were portraying some of the issues that we may have when it comes to race, privilege, and biases, that it was also important for us as artists to explore our own. Or our own experiences where we felt like we discovered something like that happened, or where we had a realization that something happened that we weren't aware of until we had that moment or that experience. And the students did an excellent job of taking on the task of writing their personal monologues that reflect truths to them that they realized or that they want to share or hope for the future. So Travis and Monica, they are the bookends of this production. Literally, Travis kicks it off with his incredible monologue, which he'll share with you in just a moment. And Monica takes it home for us at the very end, and gives us very powerful message at the end, and also gives a very powerful message to her own community and her own culture, which I find is always valuable when you're an artist, to be able to speak to your own people. Travis is new. Um, for us, for me, this is my first opportunity to have worked with him, and it was a very, very delightful experience. He is a jack of all trades, literally. There was nothing that I threw at him during this process that he did not take on and say, "Yeah, I got it." He took it on with ease, which was beautiful to see, but also shows what kind of work ethic and what kind of emerging leader we're working with in Travis, which is very, very hopeful for me for the future if leaders are going to take on the reins like that. So he was just has been incredible to start with, and I'm looking forward to having more opportunities to work with him. Monica is my veteran right now. She was with us in Perform the Protest, the first production that we did. So she's not a stranger to using her voice at this point. She has been using it and using it well. She also has made a commitment to me to help me learn more of her cultural language, which I think is valuable and important, because I never let her tell people what she's saying in her own culture, in her own language. I challenge her to challenge the viewer to do their homework, to do their cultural research, and to find out what it is that she's saying, because it gives us an opportunity to start to reach out to other cultures and communities in very new and different ways. So I challenge us all to, when you watch the piece and when you hear her today with her monologue, take a second to figure out what it is that she said. So without further ado, I guess I can quit talking for you and start talking with you. Let's start with Monica. Monica, I have a question that I want to ask both of you, and then we'll go right into the monologues. Um, so the question is, what was the most beneficial part of this process for you, or being a part of this production?
So the most beneficial part of being in this production for me, I would say it was the experience of being able to learn from this play, because while getting to know the character that I was playing, you also like get to know more about the meaning behind the play. Like, what was the author trying to say? What's the author trying to get across to the audience? And being able to learn from that and bring it to life was very important to me personally. And I find that working on this play, it was very important. And I really took a lot from it too, because now every time I go out, I just think about what I've learned and I put it every day in my life when I'm talking to other people or when I'm going to do something. Or yeah, it was a lot that I really loved learning.
Uh, Travis, same question. What's the most beneficial part of this production, or being a part of this production?
Yeah, I'd say it's perspective. When I came in, the task was to write an original monologue, and reading over the script itself, I was, yeah, as you know, it took me 2 or 3 rehearsals before I had anything written down on paper. I didn't know where to begin, because this is just not an issue that I've very much had to deal with, but seeing the actors bring to life the script, and like Monica was saying, the authors have very much intent in their writing as to what they're trying to get across. And so seeing those different messages played out on stage, it does give you a lot of perspective, which is what helped me write in the first place.
Beautiful. And that's exactly what I wanted you guys to be able to get from the process. And I'm glad that you were getting some of that, just as we were going through it, just being able to realize your own truths in the midst of the truths of others. So we're going to lose Monica pretty soon, because she is a student and has a course load, and students are in the middle of midterms right now. So they have got a lot going on and their loads are heavy. So I want to jump right into just sharing the monologue. Like I said, in our actual production, Monica is the anchor. She's pulling us on in home, but we're going to have her share first today so that she has an opportunity to get to class, because we want to be good stewards of, of that and make sure that we're putting their educational needs first. So, Monica, without further ado, let's please hear your monologue.
I want to change the world. Many say that, but never act on it. I want people to feel safe and protected, and yet you can legally buy guns at any store. I want. When I was little, I never understood why my mother was always worried about me being on my own or without my sister or older sister. I always thought that she was just being paranoid. After all, I'm the youngest and the troublemaker in the house, the one who should always be supervised. That's what I thought. That's what I wanted to believe. Now I'm older. I've matured. I've seen the world for what it truly is. And I understand why my mother was always trying to protect my sister and I. She was trying to keep us safe from the sad reality. That sad reality is that someone can't be walking outside without pepper spray or a taser. The sad reality that when the sun leaves, I don't feel safe anymore. I have to have my phone with me, ready to speed dial 911 or start running at any given second. That sad reality is that no one feels at peace without someone they trust alongside them. This fact angers me because I wish to live in a world where I won't have to tell my parents or grandparents, yes, I have pepper spray, or yes, I have a ride home. I won't have to take the bus at night. I want to live in a world where I won't have to tell my children, trata de no caminar de noche, siempre atento, con gente que conozca. I want for future generations to feel safe when walking at night, to not have to worry about, am I going to make it home tonight? For mothers to not have to worry about, is my child okay? Are they going to be okay? I want to fight for this future because I know that at the end of it, there's going to be someone out there that's going to feel safe and won't have to worry about the injustice sent their way. We have to fight for a better future for our children and their children. Porque yo puedo ver un futuro en donde nosotros vamos a estar seguros y no nos tenemos que preocupar por cada jodida porquería. Thank you.
It gets me every time, every single time, Monica. Oh, that last part is just, it's so convicted, and I just love that. You guys, make sure that you tune in this Thursday night when we go live with this production. You will be able to hear all of the monologues that the students have worked on, and I assure you that you will not be disappointed with that, with hearing those and sharing those moments with the students. So we start the 25th through the 28th. Make sure that you join us. And if you have any questions or anything that you want to ask, please feel free to put it in the chat. We will try to get to those questions before we end today. Thank you, Monica, for sharing that. Okay, and when you have to go, feel free to go ahead and log off and make it to class, okay? Thank you so much again. Okay, Travis, we are going to move on to your monologue and let them hear what comes at the very top of the show. So if you're ready, you can go ahead and start there. I think they're going to switch your screen over so that you're the main and we see you front and center. And then as soon as they do that, then you go ahead and get started, okay?
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Seeing Monica front and center right now.
Yeah, she's still front and center. I think they're going to cross it over here in just a second.
All
There
right.
you go.
I remember back in high school, the local news channel hated our school. They would come to all of our sporting events and make us out to be the worst school in the world. like when the marching band tried to take a stand, and they completely twisted it. We had a lot of kids in our band, like 300. And before one of the games, one of the students decided they wanted the band to kneel during the national anthem. They emailed the whole band, all official and all, saying the plan was to simply kneel while we played. It was to protest racism in America. This wasn't something I really thought was a problem at our school. I mean, we had a ton of diversity and everything seemed to run smoothly. Anyways, a bunch of kids didn't want to do it, and it created this whole mess. The principal heard about it, and he gathered the whole band up and told us we weren't allowed to kneel, but if we felt like we needed to, we could walk off. I stayed on the field. I was terrified of walking off in front of all of those people. A total of 12 kids walked off. They were all minorities, and I could see as they walked off that there wasn't a single doubt in their mind that they were doing what they knew was right. Looking back, I debated whether I should have gone with them. You see, the local news channel had also heard about the protest and sent a crew to interview. The students spoke proudly into the microphone, speaking of the injustices they faced every day. The things they said baffled me. I couldn't believe I was so ignorant. I knew the students had to be proud, but the news channel just took the story and just stomped on it. Next thing you know, there's an article out that says, marching band scandal, over a dozen budding anarchists march off the field during the national anthem. They said things like, today these budding anarchists are wielding trombones. Tomorrow it's baseball bats and they're lighting up city blocks. They wanted the principal fired. They wanted the band teacher fired. They wanted those students kicked out of band. They didn't bother to mention it was 12 out of 300 students. They didn't even bother to mention the reason for the protests. I always wondered how those kids must have felt reading that story, knowing that the good light they tried to put into the world was just squished, that this is the way the world will always view that story. Looking back, I really wish I would have gone with them. Thank you.
Okay. Just 1 second, I get my video going again. Okay. How brave is that? To have a student that's willing to use their monologue time to speak about something that actually happened. And at the time that it happened, Travis didn't know how he felt about it. But looking back on it, he had some different insight. Travis, tell us what made you decide on that monologue? What inspired you to speak out on that particular subject?
Right. Well, so when I was trying to write the monologue, I realized I didn't have a lot of experience with like racial prejudice in this country. The most I'd ever done was school. And like I said, we were really diverse at the school that I went to. And then I just remember back in sophomore year of high school that this actually happened. And it was a big deal at the time. And then it kind of just got washed over and nobody ever really talked about it again. But I still remember just always wondering, I was like, how could the people that wrote that article live with themselves? Like, things they said about these high schoolers, like these teenagers that are coming into the world. Like, I don't know. I just always had a problem with that.
Monica, if you have a chance real quick before you go, what inspired you for yours?
My monologue was a bit of like last minute. I have no idea what to write about, but I really want to write something powerful. And it's first started off as I think it was on National Women's Day that like it came up to me the fact that, oh, there's one day to celebrate like women, and the fact that everyone is like happy National Women's Day and stuff like that. I don't know. It just struck me as like odd, the one day we get. And that, like, I guess that inspired the monologue. And I first wanted to write about the struggle like every woman has, the main line of when the sun leaves and night approaches, I don't feel safe. It was mainly for like, oh, whenever I walk outside I'm scared because anything could happen. But then with recent events and situations, it kind of changed, so it was more like open to everyone, not just women, because as a minority, then this includes myself or Black people or Asian or just anyone that like we don't feel safe. I wanted to open it to everyone because it's a problem that's happening to everyone, not just women. And also not just women go through that, men also go through it, just a little bit less at times. And I guess that was what I wanted to like talk about and shine a light to.
That's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. Quick before you hang up, tell me outside of color, what was your favorite piece?
Ooh, um, my favorite piece. I I love all of them, to be honest. I really love all of them. But if I had to pick one, I would say it's Zimmerman, George, the
Valid.
Ballad of Zimmerman. Yeah, because when in rehearsal I was watching it, it just hurts and feels different, and I almost try not to cry every time I watch it because it's so powerful and painful at the same time. So I guess my pick would be Zimmerman, Ballad of Zimmerman.
Travis, what about you? And I'm good with you going whenever you have to, Monica, just so you know.
I actually really like Zimmerman too, and I hate to like scapegoat off Monica's answer, but there's definitely an energy whenever we practice Zimmerman. Like, not only is the script just really well written to capture what like this historic event that actually happened, but like with the music and the ambiance and everything we build up, it's just you can tell like even the actors are uncomfortable being up there, and like yeah, it's a really cool piece to see come to light in the way that we did it.
And I have to add that Travis is also playing acoustic guitar throughout the piece and a couple of pieces that we've added in some staging and some extra stuff that we wanted to enhance the piece with. And he came in and is helping to accompany a lot of these things as well. So literally, when I said jack of all trades, I was not kidding. Um, just to explain a little bit about each one of the pieces without taking up too much time. So Night Vision is the first piece, and it literally deals with a couple that come in from witnessing a domestic situation or a situation where a woman was being beaten and the struggles that they have between their perspectives in the same household. It was natural for one of the characters to assume that the aggressor was a Black person, and so then her husband immediately questioned her and said, "Are you sure? Because do you realize what you implicate by saying that?" So it kind of talks about that struggle. Some other kid um, is it's between three kids who are friends, and they're all trying to find their way in the world. They're all trying to figure out what their value is and how they're important. And they spend some time together talking about different things that they've gone through and experienced, and they share monologues within that piece that talk about things that will make you think about privilege, that will make you think about race, that will make you think about all those things that even socioeconomic aspects that sometimes that will make you see how different you can be looked at based off of who you are, and the value of who you are. And one day it's you, and the next day it's somebody else that's valuable, which in some ways may devalue you. So they did a wonderful job of that piece. Colored is just a wild, crazy piece. Like there is so much going on at the same time in Colored. But the most important thing was literally pointing at the biases that we sometimes have, just based off of what we hear, what the dialogue is. All of these characters are represent different colors, but none of them are the colors that we look at and face every day. They're the colors of the rainbow. So it could virtually be anybody. And it forces you to think about who you paint those people as they share dialogue. Do you automatically say, oh, those got to be the Black people, or those are probably the white people? Do you start to use your own perspective to decide who these people are. The Ballad of Zimmerman, like they said, is an emotional piece, one that explores what might have been going on in George Zimmerman's head um, throughout the process of that split-second decision that was made that ended somebody's life. The many biases and racist connotations that lived in this man's head that made him weaponize a person just because of their skin color. And that was a strong enough weapon that they formed just by looking at them, that they killed them. So it's kind of a harsh realization that in a split second, based off your perspective, you might make a choice that's detrimental to somebody else's entire life. Dressing is a beautiful piece between mother and son, that shows this beautiful relationship that mother and son had. And right after they ended their last call, her son was killed. That's what goes to your head, because he's gone, and all of a sudden she's thrust into these monologues where she talks about the familiar dance that Black women do when it comes to losing their children, and that it happens quite a bit, and that it happens all too often, and it's a familiar dance that we don't always like to be a part of. There's a beautiful moment that we have added to the back end of that play that I think really ties it up really nicely. And then No More Monsters here is just a wild piece too. It's all about surreal and reality and surreal worlds, where this individual woman, who is this manic white woman in the doctor's office, that is like, she's got anxiety. She doesn't realize that she has biases and all that. She's like, oh no, I'm best friends with the Black person. I touch their hair. I do all that. We go to lunch together. We walk in the sunset, but not. So then she's given this experiment to where she has to walk in the mile of a Black man's shoes. She literally has to transform into a Black man for 3 days and see what it feels like. And when she comes out of that experience, she is traumatized. And so it kind of points at what does it feel like to walk a mile in somebody else's shoes? And if we really looked at it from their actual place and not our perspective of their place, then we might see it a whole lot differently. So we are getting ready to wrap up. I'm looking at the questions here. Yes. Monologues do exist within the play, but there's just certain pieces that have monologues in them that are actually written into the play. And our original monologues that the performers wrote themselves are kind of the thread that we added to put all of the concepts together. Susan, I guess I need to call you back to the forefront. I knew we wouldn't have any problems filling up a half an hour because I run my mouth a lot. I appreciate you giving us time to be here with you. We enjoyed it. I'm sure Travis and Monica did. You guys want to turn your mics on and just say goodbye to your audience for a second?
Thank you. Goodbye.
Definitely want to thank you both for being a part of representing for ISU Theater. I also wanted to let everyone know that after Thursday's performance, there will be a Zoom chat with the actors. So if you'd like to reflect on the full play and the additional student monologues, there will be some more conversation. You know, this isn't a topic that we just like watch a play and we're done, right? It's a process for all of us. And so thank you all for making yourselves vulnerable to bring us all a little closer to what's right and what's just. So the Iowa State theater performances are all pay what you will. So please do not come because you think it's too expensive. You don't have to pay, but if you can, please do. And so that's streaming through the Iowa State Library's webpage. I wanted to also share out that Tiffany's theater company is Pyramid Theater Company. Clearly things were weird last year because of COVID, but they made it, and they do amazing work. And stay tuned to see what Pyramid does this summer. and support them. If you haven't been to see one of Tiffany's shows, you'll be as moved as this Iowa State production, I'm sure. So I want to thank you all, and hope you can make one of the performances this weekend. Have a great day. Happy spring.